Jayson Stark wrote this about shifts on his athletic column. I want to read you this stuff because I hate the shift. I cannot stand the shift.
It's brutal.
And I understand why it works. I understand why it's employed. You know why it's employed? Because it works. It's kind of the opposite of that line from A League of Their Own. If baseball was easy, everyone would do it.
The hard is what makes it great.
You know what I mean? So it works. That's why it's employed. And it's legal. It's within the rules. But you know what used to be legal and within the rules is hitting somebody right off the line of scrimmage. They changed it because it wasn't working anymore. Because the physical aspects of the game made it such that offenses were going to be strangling. And it's not just, again, I understand it's legal. I get it. I understand. But it's now being employed to an absurd level. I'm going to read you these numbers from Jayson Stark column. Did you read this?
I did not. I did not. I can only imagine.
According to an organization called Sports Info Solutions, do you know how many more shifts there were in 2018 compared to 2017? 1 year of baseball. And there was a ton of shifts in 2017. We were seeing a shift a lot. Take a guess how many more shifts there were.
50% increase.
I have no idea if it's a 50% increase, but the number is 8,000 more shifts employed in 2018 than 2017. 8,000.
That sounds a little more than 50%.
Okay, now let's go back 5 years.
Gosh.
The number of shifts, more shifts employed this year than there were 5 years ago. 2018 compared to 2017 was 8,000 more. Compared to 2013, don't worry, put a 2 in front of that number. 28,000 more shifts.
Jeez.
According to Sports Info Solutions, there were fewer ground balls hit in 2018 in any season since expansion hit in 1998 to 30 teams. And in terms of since 2015, there were 1,200 fewer, and the batting average of a left-handed hitter reaching base on a ground ball to the right side was 192. That's a drop of 43 points since 2011. That's all from Jayson Stark's column, and he's saying that baseball's trying to get rid of it, or the commissioner wants to, and the competition committee might give him the fuel to do it. And I understand it's legal, but a left-handed hitter's coming to the plate, and somebody knows these numbers like a smart manager who's a manager of the year candidate every year, which there's half of them now, right? And a pitcher knows if I throw my only pitch that is most likely to induce a ground ball, you could sit and go, well, the lefty should go the other way, should bunt, should do whatever. But this is a game. It's the most human game maybe out there. $1.92. Is that what we're paying people to see? Is that what I'm paying Bryce Harper to? What's going on with the shift, Jayson? I read that in the Athletic, in your column in the Athletic, and as you know, I despise it. I think it is absolutely the root cause as to why an at-bat results either in a strikeout, walk, or a home run these days. Every manager that I've had on this show, Cora and Roberts and Hinch, just to name 3 that I've asked about it, Melvin, none of them say that they'd be up for having it legislated out. And yet, according to you, it looks like that the commissioner is going to try and get a rule passed to get the shift out of the game here, correct?
Well, I mean, I wrote this piece the other day in the Athletic, and it really did blow up. The response has been incredible, and it was generated by the fact that during the owners' meeting, I think that was 3 weeks ago, the competition committee met, and there was a really surprisingly strong amount of support shown within that committee for doing something to limit shifts. There are not a lot of front office people on that committee. So you have to keep that in mind. There's been an incredible amount of front office pushback that I've heard since I wrote this piece, but there's definite interest in it. And then, so the question is, would the players agree to it? I think they would. We know that, look, half the players are hitters. They would all agree to it. Joey Gallo tweeted after I wrote that story, "This is all I want for Christmas." And a lot of pitchers don't like it, even though the data would show it helps them. So I think this is something you could get the players to approve. And then the other question is, how much would it help? What they're looking for is more action, more guys running around the bases. I had Sports Info Solutions crunch these numbers.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that the batting average on ground balls, short line drives that are now going into the shift and are outs would go up 50 points. You definitely have more base runners and more action. And so it's going to be a fascinating conversation.
Yeah, I read some of the numbers earlier in the show, Jayson, and it's just it's not as if the shift has obviously the shift's been around for a long time. I mean, you could put the word baseball shift and Ted Williams in there, and you could see like what looks to me like a newspaper graphic, if you will, from back in the 50s and the 40s of a shift against Ted Williams. And so it's been around forever, but it has exploded. I mean, it's absurd. Scott Boras, again, was on a couple weeks ago. He said it's biased against lefties. And his point is absolutely well taken. And the point that you cannot have four guys on the right side, on the left side of second, just for the mere fact nobody's covering first, in the same way that you could do it against a lefty, having four guys on the right side of second. So what do you think your best guess would be the language? That's
a hard one. I asked a lot of questions about this, and I would say all that they have committed to so far is two infielders on the left side of second base and two infielders on the right side of second base. But would you be allowed to put infielders in the outfield? They haven't gotten that far yet. Would you see the shortstop or second baseman 3 inches from second base and then charging over to the other side of the bag as the pitch is thrown? It depends how the rule is written. There are a lot of ways you can go. I had people from teams ask me, how are we defining an infielder? Suppose I decide to make my shortstop an outfielder and then I play him in the short right field. This would be very hard to word and very hard to enforce. I don't think anybody disputes that part. But here's my thing, Rich. I love baseball. I'm for anything that makes the game better, more entertaining, something that more people love and talk about. And all of this should be part of the conversation. That's really why I wrote the piece. Let's start the conversation.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.